Okay, guys, so I want to spend the rest of the service here just talking to you guys about Africa. So is Mike Rosenshine here today, by the way? Mike, where are you? Oh, there you are, man. Mike, I'm going to make you a legend before you die. Like legend. So Mike has done it again, and I want to go ahead. I'm just going to what I'm going to do is I've created this video. It's like a 20-minute video. I'm going to play the video. I don't have a remote control, but here's my remote control. Remote control is pause. Remote control is roll it. So, and they're going to watch me like hawks back there, and we're going to try this. Let's go ahead and just get this started. And I want to show you this first clip, and then I'll talk to you for a second.
Strings, these have three lengths of, let's say this is for the black balloons, 20-foot length.
I'm here with Mike Rosenshine. He has put together, I'm going to launch this guy from the Mandela Stadium on New Year's Eve in front of 100,000 people and 25 million watching on live TV. And Mike, thanks for helping me to put this whole thing together. If you guys only knew how much thought he put into this, I appreciate it. Are you excited to see this? Yeah, that's fine. So yes, keep it right there. Right there. Mike is being mauled by the bear on my wall. There it goes. Mike is the bear on my wall. So this year, this is my third time going back to Africa, and it is just amazing the things that God has done there. About 12 years ago, I went to Africa for the first time. I went to Uganda, Africa, and I went just to scout Uganda about coming back and doing something bigger. Well, we had great meetings. There was amazing things that happened out there. We baptized hundreds of people in Lake Victoria, and it was just a great trip, very fruitful. But on the way back to the airport, we went by the Mandela Stadium, and I just stuck my hand out the window and said, I'm coming back to preaching that one day, you know. And 10 years later, the guy who had set our meeting up said, man, you won't believe this. I now have access to one of the most powerful men in Uganda, Dr. Joseph Serwata, who leads a network of 35,000 churches. Just unbelievable, this guy's influence. And so many of those churches he's planted himself through the years. And the guy is just a legend. He has access to the president. He's actually on the president's council. Once a month, he meets with the president, him and 4 or 5 other spiritual leaders, and they present. They have 5 minutes to present in front of the president, whatever's on their heart. The president listens and makes decisions for the nation based on some of the words that come out of this man's mouth. And so, long story short, I get invited the first year, spoke there the first year. The president was on the platform. Second year, the vice president was there because there was a war that broke out on the border, and the president had to be there at the border. And so then this year, I literally was going to say no right up until I think I booked my tickets in November. And I just was trying to say no. I was like, man, too much going on right now. I've been gone a lot. I can't go. I just can't do it. And God just gave me this idea of this message that was illustrated. And I just wrote just as quick as I could. And I was like, oh my gosh, man. It was like a download. And God confirmed in a couple of different ways that I was supposed to go. So I kind of shared it with a few people. And no offense to people. But I had a few people say to me, no, man, dude, don't even try that. Man, there's 100,000 people. That could fail. And, one of the neat things, and I'll just little side here, is if you're afraid of losing face, you're not going to attempt to do much in life, You just got, one of my biggest strengths is I can laugh my head off about myself. If I accidentally pass loud gas in the middle of my message, great sermon. I hope that never happens. I hope I never preach with a huge booger hanging out of my nose. It's one of my biggest fears. I do a nose check back in the bathroom every time, and I'm cleaning it out. It's just great. But because I had a preacher do that one time. He sneezed, and there was a green one hanging out. And every time he breathed, it went in. I was assigned to look after this guy. And I was like, dude, booger, nose, deal with it. So anyway, that's a little side there. But I was like, okay, worst thing that happens is the balloon, it doesn't launch, and then I'm stuck there having to improvise and just come up with something, So I went to Mike about it, and Mike sends me this message back. Man, Mike, what I should have done is read the message you sent me. He literally sends me a message. I think it had helium equations of mathematics. And he's like, and he's going through it and he's figuring it out. And to be honest with you, if I'd attempted to do this by myself, which I kind of thought, all I got to do is get healing and I'll just figure out, I'll read a couple of blogs and figure it out. No way, dude. So complicated. And Mike comes back and he's like, well, there's so many factors. If it rains, the animal gets wet. The weight's going to go up on it. And he's like, he's telling me all these different things. And he's like, you don't only need enough helium. It needs to be 99.9% helium. If it's not 99.9%, I'm like, oh, God, in Uganda, am I going to be able to even find that, So anyway, so Mike he's telling me all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, maybe everyone's right. Maybe I shouldn't try to do this. But then Mike comes back, and he's like, let me work on it. Let me see what we can do. So Mike puts this thing together, as you could see there. He cuts every string. He doesn't just do it for me. Ruth sews a zipper in there so that just in case I have to take the guts out of it, if it doesn't launch, I can rip all the guts out of it. And it was really wild. I even came up with an extra point for ripping the guts out. And it was going to be something along the lines of sometimes you have to empty yourself. I was like, it would have just been way too much revelation for a short message, but I could have done it. I think I could have done it. But anyway, Mike tells me when I take this stuffed animal out there, Mike says, here's exactly what's going to happen. He said 10 balloons, 36 inches. He gave me a guide rope so that we would know exactly how far to fill them, stuff like that. That's so intelligent, So we had a guide rope. We filled them all to the guide rope. He says if you overfill them, when they get up in the atmosphere, they're going to get 100 feet up and they're going to start popping. And that would send a terrible message when I'm saying, Uganda's going to fly. And boom, down. Sorry, your nation is doomed. He just thought it all through. And so he said, 10 balloons, first cluster, what's going to happen is you're going to see the dog. And I gave the dog a name, a Ugandan dog name, kind of like we would say Spot or something and it's Maguja. And so he says his head's going to lift up on the first shot. I was like, perfect. My first point is the force. I'm talking about the force of faith, forces that will cause the lift. Force of faith, look up. It's like, boom, whoosh. And then the second one, he'll actually hover on the whatever your tether rope is. He'll hover up to that level, and that's enough to almost get him going. But he said when you hook that third cluster on, you better have him anchored good because he's going to be ready to go. And he said he'll leave the stadium in about 10 seconds. He literally calculated how long it would take for him to get out of sight and came up with an idea for putting lights on it. He says you could even put a flag to his back, and you could match the colors of the balloons, red, yellow, black, to match the stripes on the flag on the back. Just so intelligent, everything on it. We that's the first part of it. Can we put our hands together and just thank God for having someone like Mike Rosenshine, who is just an amazing engineer and such a gift, such a blessing to live in this area. Sometimes God sends you to small town areas, and you think, why do I want to live in a small town? I'm born for a city. People like Mike, he should be hanging out with people who knew Albert Einstein, or I was joking on my social network the other day. I said, the older you get, the less you care about what you look. I understand how Einstein ended up the way he looks. One day I think that's what I'm going to look like, because I'm just going to stop brushing my hair at some point. It's just a waste of time, and my beard, and it's just going to go crazy. So that's the first thing is we put that together. We stuck him in the suitcase, and we last minute said, if anybody wants to give gifts, you guys can do that. And the gifts came pouring in. And in fact, we had so many gifts, they tried charging me $450 on my luggage, and I just literally begged and pleaded. I said, I'm taking these to orphans, and they dropped it to $242. But my bag was so far overweight and so full, and I knew it going into it. I just figured I'd beg and plead, and that God would help me out. But anyway, because unlike in last year's, it was just me going over, so we had to fit everything. I had to take everything, So, but anyway, I do want to thank God for everybody who gave. We never made a public declaration because we just decided we're going into the end of the year. Church finances had been a little low. I was like, man, I'm not going to try to take money for the trip, and then people will be throwing their tithe money, and then the church might suffer out of that. So we'll just figure it out, And so it just worked out. And I do thank God. I want to make publicly, I want to say thank you to Pets and Pals in Stanton, who just bought boxes of gift animals, and Stephanie's here representing today. I want to do that publicly because you guys have come under so much fire, you know, and I just respect what you're doing. I respect how you're leading in your industry and doing so many amazing things, and that's a political statement, but that's what friends do. And I stand with you guys, and I thank God for this family. I love them so much, and they've done so much to support what we're doing in Africa. So, okay, let's get this rolling again. This creation of yours.
I'll be watching.
There I was landing. You can, dude, you're on point. It's so funny because David was on a speaking fast last week. I was like, David, what's up? I was like, dude, what's wrong with you? Hashim's like, he's on a speaking fast. I'm like, dude, you're so weird. But I'm telling you right now, David, God could tell him to stand on his head, he would do it. Like, it's like Ezekiel the prophet stuff, man. I mean, it's just insane, like what David's willing to do. But I walked in this morning like, David, you off your speaking fast? He goes, yes. It's the first time I heard his voice. I was like, whoa! I was like, yes! You have such a beautiful voice. But this is landing. It was really wild because this year the TV was everywhere when we got into the airport. And we got in like 4 a.m. They did a TV interview right away. And I actually got to see that interview broadcasted around the nation. Was super cool. So that's there, plus my new cool hat. All right. I'm here on Boda Boda in Uganda, Africa. What's your name? And there's Corey. Stephen Sengundo behind me. We're actually going to exchange money so that we can purchase the helium that I'm going to use in the stadium on tomorrow night. I'm launching a big stuffed animal in front of 100,000 people. It's going to be so much fun. We finally found the right kind of helium that we need. So, just loving riding these boats. Robert!
Yeah.
Boda Boda! Just went to pay for, do an exchange to pay for the helium. Whoa, I just lost my hat.
Yeah.
That's bad. Somebody get that hat! So Corey actually got off and ran through traffic and almost died, like it was the ultimate game of Frogger, and got my hat. It's kind of busted in the back. It got run over by a few cars, but the story behind that is, so when we get to Africa, I mean, Mike's like, you got to get the right helium. I get out there, the kind of helium we needed was going to cost about $200 in U.S. It cost like $1,200 in Uganda, which was crazy. I get there to this helium guy, it's all ready to go. I thank God we had brought a balloon to test. The guy tries to sell us this tank, and I'm like, this tank feels really light. And second of all, there's no like package, it's not wrapped in plastic. It doesn't look like it came from somewhere, and we're a gas company. We're literally a gas company. This isn't like some street vendor. This is a gas company. And I go, well, let's just test one of the balloons. Hugh, I tested the balloon, 36-inch balloon, tied it, let go, boom, went to the ground. I was like, no, I am not buying helium from you. And I was so discouraged. Corey's like, Dad, no big deal. Let's improvise. We can create a massive like water balloon launcher. He said, all we got to do is get elastic and we'll just launch him like into the universe. And Corey's coming up with all these ideas. I'm like, okay, Corey, that's a good backup. If we have to, at least we'll just shoot him out into the crowd and he'll fly. You know, it'll be cool. But it won't be as cool if we launch him out of the stadium. And so we end up finding another helium place that said they don't have helium, but it just so happened they had like 4 tanks that just came in from Kenya. Their wrap says 99.9. I mean, it's just like a perfect thing. It was so much God. And we got to really minister to the guy who runs the place. It was so cool. But that's what we were riding to get the helium. So, oh, no, this one right here. Now, this is John Stephen Sengundo. Our church has supported him. We bought him a projector for his church last year. We've given some money to him. You've met him personally, Levi. Levi went with us the first year. It's here for Levi, man. They call him Levi. In out there. But anyway, this is his family. And I just wanted to put a picture up there so you guys could see a beautiful family. This is one of the most beautiful families on planet Earth. They have a church. He's normally my translator in the stadium. And what happened was Clayton King, who is pastor at New Spring Church now, the 3rd largest church in the nation, joined us this year. He was supposed to have the 10 p.m. spot, which is 10 p.m. is packed stadium, full capacity, right before midnight. That 2-hour spot is amazing. Well, they bumped me this year because we brought in somebody more famous. This is just the way it goes. And I was okay about it. But I was secretly praying to God, like, man, God, I got this great sermon. I feel like the whole nation should hear it. It'd be so cool if you could get me into that 10 to 12 spot. Well, Clayton King, no offense, I didn't make this happen. He got stuck in a blizzard, like in Canada, because he had some kind of conference he was doing beforehand. He got delayed, and he ends up getting there to the airport around 12 o'clock, and they gave him a military escort. So he gets to the stadium at 1 a.m. or something like that. So guess what? They bumped me into his spot. So I'm like, dang, that's cool. I looked out over the stadium, and it's just full. There's not an empty spot. They say there was about 20,000 people outside trying to get in. And so when the time came to speak, but he's supposed to be my translator, and him and I work really well together, but he had to go get Clayton King. They stuck the best guy on VIP to go get Clayton King to make sure that he got through customs. Really cool what happened to Clayton King. There's this guy, Bob Goff. I don't know if any of you guys have ever read his book. I think Love Does. One of the best books. Corey says when he gets older, that's who he wants to be, which is kind of offensive because I want him to want to be like me. But Bob Goff has lots of influence, so I don't know, somehow Bob Goff got him. I don't know how it happens, but he ended up getting through customs expedited, straight through. So Segundo had to get him, so they gave me this guy. I literally shook his hand before I went up to speak. He's like, hi, I'm Samuel. I'm translating for you. I was like, oh, God, Samuel, you got energy? And I could just tell that this guy was like, he was like, brum, 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 brum. He was at the light ready to burn wheels off. And that guy was unbelievable. You'll see, I'm going to show you a clip here in a minute. Probably, no offense to John Stephen Segundo, who's amazing as well, but this guy who translated with me gives me chills when I listen to him translate. He's unbelievable. There was one point that he didn't understand what I said. Just one. It was when I said, this is a time to plant crops and to start business. When I said plant crops, he looked at me. And I said, and businesses. The guy knew how to go back, fix context, and fill in the blanks. And he was with me on rhythm. So anyway, let's go to the next. Sorry. I am standing now, I sent this video to you Nelson Mandela Stadium. I sent this video, guys, last week, but I want to take you through what was going on. This night, there were people in the stadium praying in the stadium in different places. And at certain moments when you stood there in the empty stadium the night before, you could literally hear people just crying out to God. I got chills several times just standing there looking out and thinking, man, tomorrow night is going to be unbelievable. So I just want to roll this just a couple of minutes. Here in Uganda, Africa. And by the time you guys watch this video, I will be very close to up next, speaking in this stadium tomorrow night. You guys are 8 hours behind us. And so at about 8:30 or so, unless the schedule changes, and that could happen, I'll be speaking here in this stadium. There'll be about 100,000 people here tomorrow night. And just thank you for being the kind of church that lets me go, that sends me, and that we're all in this together. I am on the bus with these wild people. Keep it rolling. This is a night of. What's going on, everybody? Everyone's hyped up. So who's on that bus is Noel Robinson. So if you guys go check him out, he just signed with Integrity Music last year, which is a label that's been kind of struggling for years in worship music. But they're really working hard to bring their brand back up. And he's signed with them, and he's a big deal in the UK. He's leading conferences, huge conferences all over the world. But this was a dream of his to lead worship in the stadium. And so phenomenal guy, phenomenal team. He brought a whole team from the UK who was there, and we're on the bus. This guy here is Hugh Osgood. Hugh Osgood is also, I would say he's like, I don't know, I wouldn't say like a Stephen Furtick in the UK, but he's very well known, huge influence. Not just that, he's planted hundreds of orphanages over the years. An orphanage, actually, that we visited last year and gave money to, and then also that, and I'll tell you here in a little bit, that Corey actually stayed behind and actually slept in the orphanage with kids the entire time. Actually, he's just getting back to Peru right now. So anyway, go ahead and roll this. Except Hugh Osgood, he's got the calm English energy going on here. Hey, buddy. What's up, Frank? Are you guys psyched up for this tonight? Yeah. Oh, dude, that's what I was looking for everyone. That picture That picture Corey took, it's really wild. Somebody escorted him all the way up to the farthest vantage point of the stadium. Corey's like, I'd like to take a picture. And I said, just do not stop and shake one hand, because I did that once. And once you do it, whoosh, and you're done. So he took these two. Go. What's wrong with this remote control?
Pretend you're getting ready to fly.
So this is, I've made my second point, and the balloons there are doing exactly what Mike had said they would do. Mike, and I just want to say that what was really wild is when he hooked the first set of balloons, so what we did was we had to fill all those balloons beforehand, and we were down like in the floor section, that section roped off, and we were doing those balloons, and you could just see how enormous of clusters they were. And what Mike had come up with is first balloon's going to be at the highest level, and then they're going to be in clusters of 3 down. So all 3 of them come together. They're going to just fit in just perfectly. And it was exactly what he said that would happen. And so the idea was that Corey and Eric would be, and I filled the balloons with them, and then they were waiting. And so Corey would walk up and hook one on for each one of my points, and 2 balloons are on. And what was really wild, everyone that was there says, even Dr. Sirwada says, he said, when you made that second point and Corey hooked the balloon on, and it's right before this moment right here, Maguja had been just kind of just sitting up, looking out. When that second force, the force of words, was hooked on, and he hovered up, I literally looked over, and it was like old school Godzilla. I thought he was going to start shooting rays down on the crowd and blowing people up. It was like, I mean, he just looked so powerful, hovering over and just looking at the crowd. You can feel the tension on the ropes and watch him. And so that's what's going on. And this is the last 5 minutes. Well, not the last, there's a couple of minutes after this, but this is the last 5 minutes to the launch. And some of you might have seen Frank Shelton had some of this on, but this is his footage. Unlike the one on TV, you can hear the crowd better here. So I just want to kind of roll this and give you guys a taste of what that was like. Go ahead.
We have this movie called Superman. Superman would take 3 steps go into the air. I'm giving you 3 steps from the natural position up to the heavenly position. Are you ready to fly? You ready to fly, Uganda? Remember, Peter was in the boat.
There's Corey. There's Eric.
Yes, and the 12 disciples were in the boat. There was one disciple named Peter. Peter raised his hand. Jesus, can I walk on water too? Jesus said, sure, Peter, come on. Peter went over the boat and walked on water.
This is Joseph Sirwada right
This has to
there.
be your year of getting out of the boat. The reason Peter got out of the boat is because Peter assumed that Jesus wasn't just walking on water to show off. Peter assumed that Jesus was walking on water because he wanted Peter to walk on water too. And God wants Uganda to walk on water. You have to turn your wishes into actions this year. Plant crops. Start a new business. You be the one person out of 10 or 12. Look at somebody next to you. Tell them this is my year. Tell them this. I don't know about you, but this is my year. I am getting out of boat. I will try the impossible. I'm going to use the force of faith. I'm going to use the force of words. And I'm going to use the force of action. Uganda, is this your year? Uganda, is this your year? God has his eyes on this country. You are special among all the countries. See, you might feel like you don't have enough advantages. That just means God will get more glory. And God will have his glory for this country. God has plans to do miracles with this country. How many of you believe Maguja can fly tonight? Here in a second, I'm gonna cut him loose. Maguja's gonna go up out of this stadium. And as I do that, I want you to put these forces going in your life. I want you to release these forces with a shout. Are you ready? The first force, faith. Tunula Wangulu. Look up. Yogile La Wangulu. Speak out loud. Linya Wangulu. Step up. I want you to release Maguja with a shout tonight. And you keep shouting because Maguja represents you and your nation.
This is New Year. This is like 45 minutes afterward when we took in the New Year and they were doing fireworks.
Great show. We just got finished speaking in the stadium again this year. Reaching out this crowd. Great things are happening here in Uganda.
It's been amazing. I want to thank God and thank Chuck for the invite. Pastor Joseph Sawada. This is one of the greatest moments of my life, and I want to say he preached arguably the greatest sermon I will ever hear. He not only spoke to a nation, he spoke to a country and a continent. The world needs to hear this sermon. It's going to shock the world, and people need Jesus.
We wanted to say Happy New Year to everyone around the world, right here from Uganda in this Mandela Stadium.
So this is Clayton King's family. Such a blessing to get to know him. Wow, just a real adventure family. This is Herbert Boyando. See, I let you sleep for a little while there. So, but anyway, Herbert Boyando came here to our church a couple of years ago when Dr. Sawada was scouting me to make sure he wanted me to come and speak, if you remember that. And we took him to Wintergreen. There was no snow on the ground, but he'd never seen snow in his life because they live on the equator. So we ended up taking him up to Wintergreen and brought him onto the slopes, and there was snow out there. And he slipped and fell for his first time in snow, which was awesome. He loved it. He threw snow all over him and was having the greatest time. I actually made a snowball and threw it at him, so he got hit with a snowball for the first time. And we built a snowman right there on the slope, so he was able to build a snowman. What a great man of God. Now, this is Dr. Sawada debriefing after the stadium, and I just want you to hear a couple of things from him. Go ahead.
We used to spend very little, but it now costs us about $200,000 US to do that event. And
that's Clayton King
so
right to the right there.
It takes a lot of energy out of my life as we try to get finances in Uganda. Uganda is a very poor country, and we're praying that God does something to it. And yet, the rates and charges for provision for whatever you need are very, very high. And we are expected to be the best. We started this thing. We can't do any less.
So what he's talking about there, this is really wild that I just found out this year. 12 years ago when he first started doing this event, Uganda was in the habit of celebrating New Year's Day on New Year's Day. They didn't have the tradition of doing New Year's Eve stuff. He literally started this event and started the entire nation at celebrating on New Year's Eve. But here's the thing about Uganda, different from USA. The entire nation brings in the year worshiping God. See, that's why I keep going back there. I feel like there's something, yeah, they're in deep poverty and many are uneducated. But man, when it comes to knowing God, they have an edge on the rest of the world. And something powerful is getting ready to happen in Uganda. I'm positive. I've never seen anything like it. Now stadiums fill up all over the whole nation. This is one of many events that take place on New Year's Eve. And that's what he's saying. Since we began this, there's an expectation for ours to keep going to the next level. And he's talking about how expensive that is. Go ahead.
We were supposed to put on the best television program, the best radio shows. We were supposed to accommodate people, security, all the protocol, all the details. And there is a day, I think, on Sunday and Monday. No. Friday and Saturday.
And so he's getting ready to talk about threats from terrorist organizations. I mean, I'm not trying to be over dramatic here, but we found out after the fact that there were multiple threats on the stadium that night. I was like, it'd been nice if you could have told us that, so I could have. But who cares? We still would have done it anyway. Okay, next.
Friday, before the event, I spent 48 hours with security. Just the police, just the army, and all the other ununiformed men. Just every little detail. Because Uganda, you see, is one of the countries that are still under the Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab threats. We still have them, very, very high threats. So when they see thousands of people in one place, to them it's like, oh gosh, I wish I could get in there and just at least get 100 of them. And so we have to check every little detail. I have to say that you had, Brother Chuck, you had what God wanted the nation to hear and to see. The 3 stages of
So funny, he forgot my sermon right there.
how the nation would move to the next level.
What were they?
That you brought. And let me say something here, that 70 or 80% in that stadium
This is funny.
did not know how those balloons lifted that dog off the ground.
wild.
They don't know. They wouldn't understand the power of helium and all of that. It may have been just about 20%.
His response to
who
this is so
understood
funny.
what it took. It's still a marvel, and I'm not about to open up. I'm not going to tell anybody. Those who know, and those who don't. Let it be. And maybe until later. So God used you.
Okay, stop there. So I do want to say also, how many of you, I'm not going to do it, because if it's only a few of you, I'm going to be feeling hurt. But if you watched it online, Dream TV, it was a really good broadcast. He's the founder of Dream TV. On the first year when I spoke there, they went live. That event was the first event where they flipped the switch and went live. And they estimate over 25 million people are watching that event live on Dream TV throughout like 7 nations now. It's just all around Uganda. So that's pretty intriguing, and that's the man that founded Dream TV. So, and by the way, he's coming here again in April or May, so we're working that out. So I just think we've hosted him the last 2 years, and I think a lot of times you bring somebody in, you're only going to receive to the degree that you understand the magnitude of who's standing in front of you. You know, I remember when T.D. Jakes said one time, he said, I'm preaching the same sermons I preached when I had a church of 300, but now people are listening. You see what I'm saying? So it's honor increases impartation, right? So I just don't want you to forget that. When that guy comes back, that's who's coming. Bring your friends to come listen to a person with that kind of influence. So this here is Corey-style missions. I guarantee you, I literally am almost 100% positive not a single white person has ever ridden a motorcycle, a boda taxi in Uganda. Because nobody's ever asked. Corey goes, he walks up, he goes, hey, can I ride your motorcycle? And the guy's like, yeah, sure. This is the funniest thing right here. This guy, he said the guy was laughing so hard he thought he was going to fall off the back. So watch this. Corey, boda, how much? Watch how happy this guy is. How much? Boda.
How do you turn it on? How does that go here? Oh, good start. Yeah.
In his sandals. Representing that Peru shirt. Hey, go ahead. Go ahead. Watch this guy. Yeah, go ahead. Hop on. Hey, go ahead. Hop on. Boda. Yeah. Boda. Hey, did he do good? Did he do okay? Corey, how was that? Corey, how was that?
It was so fun.
Here, Joseph. That's King's son. He took his whole family on the trip. That's his wife over there. Will you show us what you've been teaching Uganda since you've arrived here? Amazing family. You get to look at some of their stuff online. Yep. There are little posters starting to show up.
Yep.
There's a parents association that's after this kid.
Oh, look, he's going to do it.
Yeah. These little kids had come all around us. He literally had worn his out. Friends here. Okay, so then, and this was a short trip. I mean, it's amazing what we got done, like basically 3 days on the ground. It was amazing. We did setting up for the stadium the first day. We did the stadium the second day. Third day, we did this outreach in this orphanage that we went to last year, Caring Heart Orphanage. They have 281 orphans living on site. They also care for a total of about 1,000 kids in their community. And so of everything that we've done over the years, we just really felt a connection with them. So we decided to go back there again this year. So what we did was they butcher bulls, cows, and chickens, and we pay for the whole meal. We give these kids like one of a very few days of meat that they get in an entire year. And I know it sounds like that's an exaggeration, but I've fact-checked this. I mean, this is real. These kids eat rice and beans pretty much all of their lives. And so when you show up and you feed them a beautiful meal, I posted 2 years ago, I was showing, if you remember the video of the little girl was going, I love my Peps. I love my Peps. She had Pepsi. I had some people come out against me on that. It's amazing how people just want to complain, right? It's so unreal, the people in the world that just, got another thing to complain about. Like they're looking for it. Their ears perk up. And some people were like, I can't believe you're giving those third world kids Cokes and Pepsis. Why don't you feed them real food? I was like, why don't you read the rest of the story, spaz? So, but anyway, I handled it well. I said that alone. And then I was like, yeah, well, we did give them a good meal too, praise the Lord. But we do give them soft drinks as well, and they love it. So watch this. You're gonna give us a tour of the kitchen. So we got these Clayton King, three amigos we just met right here. Philip, Peter, and Michael. Yeah.
This is just like our kitchen.
So Joseph, this is just like our kitchen. Steve, I doubt it, Joseph. So you want to tell us what's going on here?
Okay, yeah. What's going on right now is trying to prepare the meals. This is a traditional kitchen, and you can see the way they're built to make sure that the food is ready in time. So the big boilers for the food. And right now what we're doing, we're trying to prepare the food for the project, the kids that we're going to feed. And I have no doubt that you're going to get involved right now. Yeah, sure. What are you going to do? Rice, Irish, or what do you want to cook?
He wants to handle the meat.
Handle the meat.
It's Jacob.
Okay, fine.
Jacob King.
You do the meat. Let me do the meat.
He's our oldest son.
So we use firewood, and
that's making rice.
Yeah.
We're going to be feeding the children in this orphanage today. Tinkerbell was flying over. King's wife. Sorry, what are you doing over here?
I think these are plantains, and I'm skinning them, right?
Yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm checking your technique here. Do you have any technique? Just
Oh,
cut your hand off.
They're so much faster than I am. Look at her.
I don't know, though. You got pretty good skills
She's-
going on here.
she's
Show me
already-
your skills. Let me see. Oh, look
Look,
at that.
she's doing 2 in the time that I'm doing 1.
Yep.
She's actually doing like 3 or 4.
She's already done.
But who's
I
keeping
kind of
track?
feel bad taking up knife space.
So this guy right here is 87 years old right now. Check this out. When he was 80 years old, he had his first kid. He has 4 kids now. You know what his name is? By birth, Abraham. Boom. Drop the mic, right? Crazy. Okay, so go ahead, keep going. And that guy can still dance too, kind of. This is Peter. We fell in love with Peter. We're actually checking in to see if we can adopt him. He's 11 years old. Looks older than that, but he's 11 years old. Had a dance-off. Emily won the dance-off last year, and it's really wild that Clayton King's wife ended up getting called to challenge him this year. White girl can dance, man.
Daniel, team,
Pause.
Daniel.
So we played games with them. This is Corey's style of ministry, and if you ever have the pleasure of working in missions with Corey, I really believe that, of course, it'll change. I mean, it's weird to think that you've kind of started something, but honestly, I've seen a lot of missions over the years, and I remember when Corey first started working with me on the mission field, and we were going to feed people and bring gifts, and he said, Dad, don't ever make the food or the gifts the emphasis. You've got to make building relationship with them the biggest emphasis and putting value on them as human-to-human contact. And so he said, when we go there, what we should do, and this is his model of ministry, spend the whole day with them rather than just getting a photo op, and just build relationship, play games with them, hang out with them, show them love. So this is what we're doing here. We're playing games, and my team was Team Daniel, as you can tell. Go ahead.
Team Daniel. Team Daniel.
It took me forever to get them to that level. Okay, pause. So this is one of the highlights of the trip. You guys ready for this? Okay. No, maybe not. So, Mentos launcher. I'm telling you right now, next time I go any mission field, I'm taking multiple Mentos launchers with me. So, go ahead and roll this. Go ahead and roll this, and I'll stop.
Okay, ready? Count to 3. You go ahead, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Okay. So they're like, do it again. We brought 3 of them with us.
One more. Yeah, one more.
So watch this.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh no!
Fail, but watch this.
Back up.
So we do it again. Watch how fast they mutate.
I want you to count this time. Ready? Count with me. 3, 2, 1.
That's Paul. He's the pastor over this orphanage. Great man. So what's really funny about the Mentos thing is the reason they're freaking out is they never get Coke, right? So these kids are like, to them, to me, I'm just like, oh, isn't this fun? To them, they're like, Coke. They're diving on it, trying to drink it. You know, I'm thinking Coke is spraying everywhere. In America, so many moms would have been flipping out on their kids. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to be sticky. You're going to sleep outside tonight in 10-degree weather. But what's funny is, and they stopped the video, the pastor Paul grabs the thing. He's telling everybody to get back because he's got this thing. He goes, we're going to offer it to Abraham. So, and there's like that much left. The carbonation is completely gone. And when you see him pass it to Abraham, you see all the Mentos in the bottom, right? You're thinking to yourself, Abraham's getting his first Coca-Cola. It's going to taste like mint, flat. And he's going to be like, these Americans, like, ew, right? So anyway, go ahead, play.
2, 3, yo.
Just having fun. I actually did this 3 takes to get a good video, and I stampeded a kid on the last one. It was terrible. Here we are feeding them their food.
Kids.
Woo!
We're serving them. Very nice meal. Kids are so coming down through the line. So humbling to have this opportunity. Serve them. This meal.
This girl right here, she, I told the story a few, I think last year I told the story, but I just wanted to have a visual because this girl right here, let's see here. Oh, you weren't there last year. You didn't hear this story. So this girl right here was actually in a car accident, pronounced dead on the scene. Was taken to the hospital, put in the what do they call it? Yeah. Just say it real fast. Mortuary. And so, and 4 days or 5 days, I actually have the video footage of the story being told by Paul. And 4 or 5 days was dead. And they were doing the funeral, and when they went in there, they recognized a sign of life. And they opened the bag, and there she is, partially, just barely alive. They had like a heartbeat or just a faint heartbeat. Anyway, you know, the people come along and go, well, she just technically wasn't dead. You know, maybe so. But this girl is the girl who is brought back from the dead. It's just an amazing, amazing story on her life, and she's so full of God. I think her name is Hannah. Okay, roll. There's Corey. I just had to put a picture of Corey in there, and he's actually watching online right now from Peru, so I just want to say hello to my son, and I just want to say that it was such an honor working with him, and he went all the way from Peru. Somebody go, my God, is that just a good use of money, him going all the way over there? I could not have done this trip without Corey. Literally, he handled all of the illustration. He handled this outreach, leading this outreach. He is such an amazing, I'm so proud of him, and now he's back in Peru with Jesse and Ian. Felicia just got back from spending time with them. I'm not going to announce, but I mean, Jesse and Ian are working on some amazing things down there in Peru. I had hoped they were going to come back. I don't know what's going to happen. We may have lost them forever to the mission field. But anyway, so let's go ahead.
Help me be patient.
Clayton King. Stephanie, there's some of your stuffed animals right there in the bag.
First.
Yes.
And thank you for the white brother.
For the white brother.
And the white sister. And the big beard. Okay.
You see, they went, okay. Now watch, Corey is over to the right. Watch what he does here. Clayton King's being all, organized. Listen. He says, don't throw. And he realizes it's Corey. So now watch what happens. Every kid had already gotten a couple of toys. And
It is for me. It is for me. Just recognize him.
Throw him far. I'm going to help you.
Clayton King comes over. Listen to him give him instructions.
Who wants a puppy? What about this?
SpongeBob went to Africa. You notice that wall in the background there? They just recently built that since we were there last time. You can pause. They just built that last year. They actually, 2 weeks before we got there, somebody had came in there and stole their money that they had in the pastor's office and shot and killed a security guard, one of their security guards. And he was actually a guy that we had met last year, so it was a really, really sad situation. So the government came in and said, you need to build a wall around this entire compound or we're going to make you shut down, which is insane. So they've been building this wall around there. So I just wanted to have a little bit of footage here. This is me addressing them at the end. I ended up just doing a mini version of what we did in the stadium. I didn't attach all the principles to it, but I just gathered their attention by holding this stuffed animal, and we launched it, which was cool. When you see the stuffed animal launched here in a second, we didn't do it, Mike, with any kind of strategy. And 3 balloons, I'd love to talk to you about it afterwards. This stuffed animal, literally, I don't know how it made it up, because it was bouncing up off the balloon everywhere. We thought it was coming down. It was very funny to watch it. You'll barely see it in the video, but go ahead and watch.
So that we could give it to you. We are all in the same family. We are going to spend eternity in heaven together. And there will be no more sickness. There will be no more poverty or loneliness. We'll all be the family of God. And life is so painful sometimes. But God wants you to know today that He sees all your pain and suffering. That He has heard all of your prayers. And that He loves you so much. We ask you to bless these people.
Look at the girl on the right there. She's so cute. I think that's the girl that was asking Corey if she would take him home.
Coming here today, God, we pray they would be inspired. That they would realize that you sent us here because you love them.
See the kid playing with the Play-Doh?
We are just your servants and we have done what you have asked. We are giving them your love that you have given us. And so, God, they are precious. We pray for them now that they would grow and live long lives, happy lives, and they would fulfill the purpose of God for each of them. Wave all your gifts in the air. Say to the churches, to the people who support us in America, we're here in the Roman Bench with Apostle Paul here. We've just got done feeding these beautiful folks. We've not done playing games. We spent the day with them. They have loved us maybe more than we loved them. We're going out of here so blessed. So, these are the gifts that you sent us out there. We say thank you. And right now, this is on the count of 3. We're going to send this little stuffed animal up to heaven. You know, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, this cup is everywhere with me. I gave away my analogy cup with all my great stickers on it to John Segundo.
This keeps it from spilling while you're
I taught him how to prank.
Without that in it, it's impossible. Sometimes people will prank you.
Meaningless video
Push it in.
content.
That's a bad thing to do because then you got to wait till it's done before you can get it back out. This is too. And I'm going to start a new collection. Thank you for this.
Okay, so this video right here, I'll tell you when to pause it here, so pause. So it's incredible. A couple days later, this guy, we put a note in there. Mike, thanks for that idea. Put a note in there. If you find this, email me. So this guy emails me. I didn't know. I was like, there's just no way he really found it. Mike, I think what happened, I expected it to be in Tokyo. But I think, honestly, we should have done more balloons with less air. Let's talk about that. Because he said when he found it, there were still lots of balloons still inflated, but many of them had popped. So I think either somebody shot it down, or it hit an airplane, or a pelican. But either way, 18 kilometers away, it traveled 12 miles away from the stadium. And it just so happened, this guy was in the stadium that night. He knew exactly what it was all about. So they're actually video interviewing him, and I'll get that back here in a couple of days. So, and I'm actually sending him money to just say, thanks for finding it, and God bless you, you're special. I think it is cool that it didn't end up in the middle of the lake or over the ocean, but that it actually landed where somebody was able to know what it was about. So go ahead. I don't know if there's anything else. Oh, we
Here in
stopped
Dubai,
stopped in Dubai.
the
on way
world's
home.
tallest building. There it is. Doesn't look so tall from here, but it is.
I'm almost as tall as it.
World's tallest building, and I've read many times, don't do anything with your life unless you think you can be best in the world at it. This is the world's tallest building. Are you putting that much effort into your life? Because you should.
Okay, boom, there it is. It was a great trip, amen. And I took a lot of time to talk about it today because most of the time when we go on these trips, we come back, tell a quick story, be done. I thought, man, you know what? I would really like to show a lot of video footage and give you guys an opportunity to really experience maybe what we experienced. Do you feel like we've accomplished that today? Yes? You know, it's 11:30 and I'm going to kind of wrap this up today. I'm not going to give you some sermon. I'm going to let you go home, and I'm probably going to continue to talk about some of the ideas that I'm getting from God right now because of this trip, and not just because of this trip, but just because of where I'm at in life right now. How many of you believe that God is doing something new and special in your life right now? You know, I know my church really well, and I'm hearing from lots of people, and you're going, man, I just feel like I'm turning corners. I feel like just great things are happening. I feel optimistic. It's more than I've seen in years past at the turn of the calendar. I feel like there's a faith in the atmosphere. And as I preached in the stadium, I was talking about the forces that will cause you to lift. And by the way, that message was attached to a deep spiritual meaning. I used a scripture from Ephesians that talks about how you've been seated with Christ in heavenly places. And I talked about how even though positionally, according to the gospel, when you're born again, you are seated with Christ above every problem you're ever going to have in life. But the problem becomes the gap between where you are in life, physically positioned, and where you are spiritually positioned. And you have to close that gap. And so I was talking about the forces that will cause that to happen. The forces will take you from here and up. And those forces will work in Uganda and they'll work here. The force of faith. You have to become really good at being able to imagine where your life can end up. I think I just made eye contact with Robbie Widener all the way up in the farthest end of the church. Robbie, I've never gotten to publicly praise you for your Spartan challenge that you ran in Iceland last month. Now, you guys should talk to this guy. How many obstacles did you go through and how many miles in 24 hours? 37 miles, 110 obstacles in Iceland. So let's hear it for Robbie on that one, guys. But you know, I'll never forget Robbie when his wife started running marathons, and I remember listening to him and watching him, frustrated, irritated, not into it. Yeah, okay, sure, I'll run. And then, you know, in his Spartan attitude, he just took it up the next level. And I love people, I'm inspired by people who attempt to do what few people will attempt to do. That is the life of faith. When you read the Bible, you read people who entered the narrative when God said to them, here's my dream for you. Will you say yes to that? If you'll say yes to that, you're getting ready to have the journey of a lifetime. And I just believe, I don't care if I've been here for 15 years, and I don't regret the time I've been here. Sometimes you feel like, because you're in a small town, that you're at a disadvantage from some of the other people in the world. Well, when I'm speaking to Uganda, and many of them can't read or write, there's a tendency to go, well, because you can't read or write, then God is limited. God is not limited. He just receives more glory. He just receives more glory for your life wherever you're weak. Paul said, when I'm weak, then I'm strong. This needs to be a year of you believing that God can do something in your life. Come on, man, people of God. That God can do something in my life, something that I'm not trained for, something that I'm not qualified for, something that I shouldn't be able to do. You know, that God can do the impossible in my life. And so faith will get you there. And the second force is words. Words. And I think this needs to be a year that you carefully monitor what's coming out of your mouth. Not just out of your mouth. The social network is the new mouth. It's the new mouth. You have to be careful what's coming off of your fingers and onto the screen, what you're replying to, what you're reading, what you're saying. And this has to be a year that you're careful to speak about where you're going, not where you've come from, not what you're going through, but you have to speak about where you're going. You have to speak with faith. You get the dream, and then you have to speak it out. You have to wash your mouth. You have to watch your mouth. The Bible says that the mouth is like a rudder directing a ship. And it's like a bit in a horse's mouth. If you can get control of your mouth in 2018, God, or your fingers, God can do amazing things in your life. Can you say yes to that? And then the third force is the force of action. The force of action. You have to look up, you have to speak up, and you have to step up. You know, I love to look at the story of Peter. He's in the boat just like the other disciples. He's the one guy who raised his hand and said, "Can I get out of the boat?" I believe Jesus would have said yes to all 12 if they all would have asked. But there was one guy that thought, I could do that. Jesus, and that's what I said in the message. Jesus didn't walk on water to show off, I'm the Son of God. He wasn't moonwalking across the waves like, check me out, praise me. It was almost like he wanted Peter to say, can I do that? And you know, when you read the Bible, God is sitting there watching over his word, hoping you'll ask the question, can I do that too? God has a life of miracles for the people of God. And this could be the year that you say, I'm going to believe for something bigger and better in my life. I'm going to put my mouth in action and steer my life forward, and I'm going to take radical actions to get out of the boat and do the impossible. You can wait another 10 years, you can wait another 20 years, you can wait for a lifetime and never get out of the boat. Or this can be the year that you attempt to do the impossible. Are you with me? Let's stand. Father, in Jesus' name, pray a blessing over everyone in the church today. Thank you so much, Father, that we have the opportunity to do these great things for you. God, next Sunday, would you just please develop this idea that I had all morning? I believe, Father, that there is, I just believe that there's a special, unique calling on this church. I believe that each person in this church is more unique and special and beautiful and necessary than they even know. There are no front players and then background sounds and background people and props for what you're doing, God. We're a team, and there's a unique combination of personalities and backgrounds and people and ideas. And I just believe that something amazing is getting ready to happen through us. Somebody will go, my God, what are you talking about? It already is, and it is. But I feel like in the last couple of months, God, that you've been challenging me. And I was reading that book the other day. It just says, the challenge to greatness, that the world is waiting for people to step up and be role models. They're starving for someone to be a role model. They're starving for someone to set them in action with a cause. And God, I just pray right now that you would use us in this hour to set people in motion with a cause. And I pray, God, that with the rest of our lives, that we'd be faithful to you. God, the world needs peace and unity. The world needs help. Starving people, diseased people, homeless people, sex-trafficked people. What can this little town do? My God, what couldn't we do? And so this year, Father, we're going to dream bigger. We're going to speak bigger. We're going to act, step forward, and do great things. And I pray for every person here that you would just start to breathe over them, God, that you would start to rise them up, start to lift them off the ground with these forces of lift. In Jesus' name, amen. You say yes to that? Amen. Have a phenomenal week. I'll see you guys next Sunday or maybe before. God bless you.